Is Patriot Front a glowy honeypot? Or are they a legitimate right-leaning group trying to preserve the values, customs, and traditions of American culture? Well, let's investigate. The ADL defines Patriot Front as a white supreme group whose members maintain that their ancestors conquered America and bequeathed it to them alone. They define themselves as American fascists. Well, that's convenient. Or American nationalists. Yeah, because those are just one and the same thing, right? So right off the bat, we start with a rhetorical smear rather than dialectic, but then again, it's the ADL, who are focused on preserving America's identity as a European American identity. It was kind of British colonies, I suppose, at one time. Want to maintain that sacred British tradition of drinking tea, maybe? Patriot Front is a Texas-based alt-right group led by 24-year-old Thomas Ryan Rousseau. Those damn French. The group split from Vanguard America in late August 2017, several months after VA participated in a rally on the Capitol steps in Austin, Texas. 2017, so they're less than 5 years old. Keep that in mind. Rousseau also led people through the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Oh, yes, that. We'll just say completely organic. In addition to distributing flyers and stickers, Patriot Front has added stenciled graffiti, banner drops, and the reprogramming of traffic signs as mechanisms for spreading its ideology. Good God, stickers and graffiti? America's in trouble, guys. Patriot Front often uses its propaganda to target its perceived enemies. This has included leaving flyers at a black church, stickering an LGBTQ community center, and more recently, the vandalization of memorials for St. Floyd and other inclusive murals in New York, Newark, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and Louisville. Oh my God. Oh my God. No. It's so scary. So anyway, questioning the authenticity of these guys is nothing new. A YouTuber named Mr. Reagan did a video some time ago that was very in-depth, and he did a very good job. But this has come up again, so I'd like to go through it. You may have seen in the news here, 31 members of hate group busted near Pride event for planning riot, cops say. Idaho cops successfully foiled what could have been a repeat of Charlottesville by pulling over a U-Haul truck filled with 31 members of a white supreme near a Pride event. How dare they? The group is called Patriot Front. You probably first heard of them during a deadly Charlottesville protest in 2017. Nearly 36 of their members were packed into the back of a U-Haul truck. Maybe they were just helping one of their buddies move. I mean, this happens across our border all the time. I've never heard a story about that, on TMZ anyway. The city's police chief says someone spotted the group loading into the U-Haul at a nearby hotel and tipped off the police. 10 minutes later, heavily armed officers pulled over the truck and arrested the group without incident. 10 minutes? That's some fantastic response time, I'll give them that, especially with the state of the cops, at least out here. The group's leader, Thomas Ryan Rousseau, damn Frenchman, was arrested for criminal conspiracy to riot. He and the others were being held on a massive $300 bail. Oh, and they even add, and as for why the cops were able to respond so quickly, the chief said they were aware of online threats that had been made leading up to the Pride event and had increased police presence in the area. Yeah, even they had to explain that one, right? Only in TV does a 911 call lead to an instantaneous arrest. I mean, come on. And then luckily this random person, unidentified and just happened to be like getting their groceries or something, was right there. Yeah, okay. And so the monkeypox super spreader parade was allowed to continue without incident. So back at the end of last year, these guys marched on the Lincoln Memorial, and it was a big story. And I want you to look at these guys. Look at them go. I mean, okay, let's see. They've got these dumb little shields. That's the first thing, like uniform-made shields. Yeah, cool. They got their faces covered. I don't know if you know anything about the right, but they weren't so fond of covering their faces. Sunglasses, khakis, it's all standard issue uniforms. They all look pretty much the same. There's no individuality. They're like faceless stormtroopers marching out. And they're all very young and very fit. Now, one of the arguments that Mr. Reagan made for them not being FBI is usually FBI agents are a little bit older. They generally have a career that they start out, whatever it may be, law enforcement or whatnot. And then so by the time you get in, you're in your 30s at least. Now, these are all young, fit, thin guys, but they could be extras. They could be actors. We've seen definitely the FBI. Well, J6, they had the glowy Ray Epps pushing people in. We had the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping hoax. We've had a number of actions where the FBI has been involved at least or pulling strings. And there's also like non-state actors or non-governmental organizations. There's a ton of money flowing around there. We've seen rioters for hire at some $25 an hour or something. So any of this in the era of Jussie Smollett, there's a lot of money flowing around to make hoaxes like this. The fact that their faces are covered, you can't ever tell who they are. Their arms are covered, so you don't see any tattoos that might be identifiable or contradictory to the message, suggests that they're paid props. But then, as the mainstream media would have us believe, totally organic. Now I want to show you a picture of a mentor of mine, and this is what a real militia member looks like. Older, overweight, not the healthiest. In fact, the reason I show this picture is this fella, my friend here, is no longer with us. It was the smoking and the greasy food that got him, not the government. And his idea of militia activity was driving out into the woods with his son, who'd been in special forces, and a couple other guys, and getting drunk and shooting at beer cans in the woods. So, yeah, real danger, those guys. So, we know what the real militiamen look like, but I'm looking at these guys march, and it's like, where have I seen something like this before?
And now our friends from the north, please greet the proud sons of Durmstrang and the High Master Igor Karkaroff.
Okay, look at that.
Albus.
So this technique of having everyone march in uniform and look basically indistinguishable from one another, except for a very prominent looking leader, is straight out of the movies. This is like a made-for-TV white supreme march, ready-made for MSNBC addicted boomers and millennials that live in the city and have never been to a farm. So, pretty comical. It's straight technique, but it gets even more interesting. This is the Patriot Front homepage. Let's look at their political philosophy right there in their own words. So this first one, life. Recognition. Americans will fully recognize themselves as a people, not merely citizens or residents of a country, but a people. Okay. Bearing a unique national interest, our heritage rooted in this country. Our people born to this nation of the European race must reforge themselves as a new collective, capable of asserting our right to cultural independence. A new collective? A European collective, like a collective, so not individual liberty and individual rights, responsibilities, and freedom, but a new collective. That's not very right-wing, but it gets even more Marxist than that. Victory. Representation. The faithful of the nation will foster a social, moral, and civilizational health None of these things mean anything. There's no actionable anything that comes to them. It just sounds good. So again, it's pure rhetoric over dialectic, which will allow people to prosper alongside the guidance of a representative state, blah, 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 blah. Listen to this. No placement of the private interest above that of the common good will stand unopposed. The common good? The greater good? Man, that's straight Marxist politics. This thing is so fake, I'm surprised it doesn't say from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. What do these people think? Whoever is funding this and put this up is so dumb, they don't even know the basic tenets of a right-wing philosophy. They think that it's just the same thing. I guess all politics is the common good and the greater good, just with a pale white face instead of a multicultural face. There's a reason there's the saying that any space that is sufficiently free becomes right-wing. It's because the right-wing arguments are winning arguments. Freedom, individual liberty, personal responsibility, the ability to do what you want with your own life, the founding principles on which the Republic and the Constitution are based. There's nothing to do with the greater good, the common good, a collective. Certainly no group that actually identifies themselves as American fascists. I mean, whoever came up with this stuff is politically illiterate. There is a real intellectual argument here that they clearly don't even understand. They're just about stickers and shields and stuff. And not only that, their leader, Thomas Rousseau, has come from basically childhood to being the ripe old age of 23 or something, to a leader of this massively influential, massively powerful group. In fact, they're so big, well, I'll let CNN explain it.
White nationalist nonsense. The reason it's more than just a bunch of clowns trying to march on the Lincoln Memorial is the ADL found that this particular group, Patriot Front, was responsible for 80% of the white supremacist propaganda found on campus and elsewhere in 2020. So, and it's a young person's movement. This isn't just a bunch of old cranks waving their fist at the sky about how the country's changing.
23 years old.
Yeah, 23 years old, no job. A lot of these guys still live with their mom, but they all have a massive number of resources and an incredible amount of time when they should be trying to establish themselves and start a career. And yet this one kid has risen to be a leader of this movement and is responsible for 80% of the white supreme rhetoric propaganda spread throughout the entire nation. 80%. Well, the good news is if 80% of the hateful messages are hoaxes, that only leaves 20%, which are probably at least 50% hoaxes, which means that 90% plus conservatively of the hateful messages out there are pure astroturfed hoaxes. Now, I can't say, is this FBI? Is this CIA? Is this a non-state actor? I don't know. But one thing we know for sure is this is not organic. The fact that all the fact checkers which have had to fire their fact checker for lying about checking facts, line up and say, oh no, this is totally real, totally organic, means we can at least be sure of one thing. Patriot Front is a front for something, but it's not a front for patriots.